Mackenzie Johnston with Cattle News Central, bringing you your July 12th cattle industry headlines. Brought to you by 4T Ag Insurance, your go-to contractor for ag insurance. Colt Tritt, he is the owner and operator of 4T Ag. He is a one-man show. He himself ranches like the rest of us, so he understands all the risks that go along with the livestock industry. If your operation is not already enrolled in PRF insurance, now would be a great time to reach out to 4T Ag and get enrolled. And if you want to learn more about 4T Ag and everything they have to offer, head on over to their website, www.4tag.net. That is the number 4, TAG.net. The Austin American-Statesman recently did a fact check on an article written by Representative Abigail Spanberger. She is a Democrat from Virginia. This article was co-authored by Brooke Miller. Of course, he is the president of the U.S. Cattlemen's Association. And the article focused on the big 4 meat packers raking in record profits. To no surprise, the news source found that this article is indeed true. The big 4 are indeed raking in record profits, despite the execs of these companies claiming that they have not partaken in price fixing. And their record profits are instead the result of unusual economic circumstances brought on by the pandemic. So a few numbers to consider. And I have went over these numbers time and time again. However, I do believe it is important to reiterate these numbers to drive home the fact that there is indeed something off within our industry. Meat prices have risen 12.3% in the last year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That rate outstrips the 8.6% inflation rate that our country is currently experiencing, and it also outpaces the 10.1% increase in overall food prices. So when we look at profits for our big 4 meat packers, JBS had a record net profit of $4.4 billion for the 12-month period ending March 31st of this year. That's a 70% increase in the previous 12 months. Tyson had a record $4.1 billion net profit for the year ending March 31. That's a 91% increase year over year. Cargill, they are a privately held company, so they are not actually required to publicly report their financial information. However, Bloomberg reported back in August that confidential financial documents showed Cargill delivered a record $4.9 billion net income for its fiscal year ending May 31st, 2021. That is up 60% year over year. Marfrig, they reported a net profit of $820.1 million in 2021. That's a 32% increase compared to 2020. In its annual report, the company claimed this was their largest profit ever. Even with all of this data, the packers claim an oversupply of cattle in recent years pushed meat prices down and left cattle producers with more livestock than they could sell. At the same time, they claim the pandemic caused worker disruptions at processing plants, leading to increases in the demand and price for meat. And finally, they also claim inflation has increased processing and transportation costs, and those added expenses have been passed on to the consumer. This update is also sponsored by Ag Risk Advisors. They manage your risk so you can manage your operation. With the weather being so unstable, there is no better time to look into coverage for your feed crops. The annual forage deadline is right around the corner. With their state-of-the-art technology and second-to-none customer service, you can be confident that your policy is in good hands. Ag Risk Advisors, risks averted, legacies preserved. Meeting Place has reported Megan Kingsbury, CEO of Western Legacy Development Corporation, the company that is planning to build a $1.1 billion beef processing plant near Rapid City, South Dakota. They recently answered questions from community members in Wall, South Dakota last week. According to Kingsbury, the majority of the products produced by the plant would be destined for large food service customers rather than retail stores. Kingsbury went on to explain that the livestock, both cattle and bison, would be purchased through cash trade sales rather than AMAs. When asked about the ability of the facility to procure more than 2 million cattle, costing about $60 million a year, Kingsbury said she has the private capital needed to support the project without asking for government funding. In this article, it did not touch on the fact if anyone asked where this large labor force is going to be housed and where the labor force is going to come from. That is a question that a lot of people have been asking. I believe this facility will require 2,500 workers, and also it has also been reported that affordable housing in Rapid is definitely suffering from a shortage. This update is also sponsored by Circle 5 Cow School. If you're wanting to learn how to preg check your own cows or start AIing, Circle 5 Cow School is definitely the way to go. Almost every week they are hosting classes somewhere between Texas and Tennessee. If you want to check out their schedule, head on over to circle5cowschool.com. That is the number 5 in there. Or you can go ahead and just give them a follow on Facebook. Fox News has reported Biden's Justice Department is suing Arizona over a law that will take effect on January 1st of 2023 that would require voters to provide proof of American citizenship to cast ballots in federal elections. The DOJ's complaint claims the law violates the National Voter Registration Act of 1993 and the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Furthermore, the complaint alleges the law would throw thousands of voters off the rolls. So essentially, what the DOJ is saying here is that they believe this law is an unnecessary requirement that would make it harder for eligible voters to vote. They want people to be able to just walk in to a voting facility without any ID, without any proof that they're actually an American citizen, and be able to vote. Keep in mind, the DOJ is coming out against this law at a time when our country is experiencing a horrific border crisis. Immigration arrests along the U.S.-Mexico border rose in May to the highest levels ever recorded. The Border Patrol made a whopping 239,416 arrests along the border back in May. Almost 100,000 of those illegals were then released into our country. And keep in mind, these numbers are just what the Border Patrol has reported, what they have caught at the border. There are thousands upon thousands of illegals entering our country every day because our administration has basically just opened up the gates and said, come on in. And then when they want to make sure that we have honest, straightforward elections that do require you to prove who you are, to require you to prove you are an American citizen, the Biden administration, they don't want that. They want people to just be able to walk in and vote. Just another ridiculous move by our administration. That is all I have for you guys this morning. You guys have yourself a wonderful day. I'll catch you later.